So good evening, everyone. So good evening, all. Today uh, is our first session of Red Hat Ansible. So let me start. Okay. So fine. So let me welcome you all. Welcome all to the Red Hat Ansible webinar. So first, let me introduce myself, and then let us get into the webinar. All right. So I'm just keeping it as a webinar, but today is our first session. So we will continue this time daily. Okay, so let's go on. So coming to myself, like I'm A. Balachandra Kumar. I'm a certified trainer and I'm having a 15 years experience in the system administration, or you can say IT infrastructure. And I'm a tech consultant and a corporate trainer. I do different types of trainings, corporate, classroom, and online trainings. And apart from this, I also do workshops at colleges also. So then apart from this, these are all the technologies where I'm expert in when it comes to Red Hat Ansible, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Ubuntu Linux, Oracle Linux, Solaris, AIX, VMware Cloud, clouds such as AWS, and I also train an enterprise level application that is called Veritas Suite, which contains Veritas Volume Manager and Veritas Cluster. Apart from this, you know, I also do a job support, and I also do a certification assistance, right? And I have trained, many people around the globe. I mean, I can't give you a count because it's a very old PPT. That's a count has been 6,000 plus, but they have trained many people around the globe and different way of trainings, right? So this is all about myself here. And now let's immediately get into the Ansible webinar, right? So, but before I get into Ansible here, let me um, talk something about why Ansible and all these things. Okay, what is Ansible here? Why we need to use an Ansible? Okay, without Ansible, 10 years, 15 years back, how the system administration was, how the IT infrastructure was maintained. We are going to discuss all these things in this webinar, right? So first thing here is Ansible is an open source automation tool and or a platform used for IT tasks such as configuration management, application deployments, intra-service orchestrations, and provisionings. This is what, and configure both Unix-like system as well as Microsoft Windows, right? So let me take you into a paint here and I'll give you a detailed information basically for what reason. Okay, I'll just try to, oh, 1 minute. Yeah, done. So first, let me give you Ansible is an automation tool. Ansible is an automation tool, or it is called DevOps tool, right? So many times people are confused here. First, let me have a clear picture whether is an Ansible is an automation tool or it is a DevOps tool, right? So first, let me give you automation is nothing but automating the tasks, right? Like, you are working on Linux. If you want to automate any task, what you will do? Very simple. You're going to automate the task. You're going to automate the task using something called cron tab, right? This is what exactly you do it, right? In a same way, we are going to use a third party tool called Ansible to automate your tasks, right? So I'm not talking about one or two tasks. It's a continuous workflow of automation is going to be done with the help of Ansible, with the help of Ansible here. Okay. Now let me give you a detailed information about what is exactly DevOps here. See, Ansible also comes under DevOps tool here. Why it is called a DevOps tool is this tool can be used at the development side as well as operations side also. So when I say development size, that is nothing but a software development. So you can say something developing a code, assembling it, performing a QC check, then you are going to put it into a staging, then you're going to put it into a production, right? So this is what exactly happens here. Once you put it in a production, that is not over. So you need to maintain their uptime, everything should be done, right? So very simple here. The Ansible tool can be used at the development side as well as operational side, right? So they have taken dev from the development and OPS stands from the operational side. So together is called DevOps. You're getting my point. That means it is clear Ansible tool can be used, okay, everywhere in your IT infrastructure, from development to production, from development to operations, we can use everywhere. So this is the way like how this DevOps name came, right? And remember, when I talk about DevOps is not a single tool, right? People who learn DevOps all over the globe, they learn nearly 8 to 9 tools, right? But see, you're going to learn each and every tool. Let's take an example. You talk about Puppet, Chef, Jenkins, right? Ansible, Terraform, like this, there are 8 to 9 tools we have. So as a part of DevOps training, trainer is going to spend 4 to 5 hours on every tool and is going to just give you an overview knowledge about the almost 8 to 9 tools. But really, I'm telling you, this doesn't help you in real time. Why? Because learning just 4 to 5 hours, you will just come to know about the tool. But if you want to dig into the tool or if you want to deep dive into the tool, now this knowledge is really not sufficient, right? So that's the reason what we are doing is when it comes to our training, Ansible is totally a dedicated 30 to 35 hours or nearly it is 40 hours training, because if you see more examples, then it will go to up to 40 hours training, right? It's dedicatedly, you will be learning Ansible end to end, you're going to learn. Getting it? So this is what exactly here. So this is the differences here. Okay, we will discuss detailedly more into it, right? So let us go into the slide here and I'll give you the detailed information. So like, so let us go into the what we call, if I don't have an Ansible, if I don't have an Ansible here, so basically, how would my the administration used to be, right? Take an example, many people who have a vast experience, maybe you might be having 5 years, 6 years, 8 years experience. Many people, before these automation tools, you might be knowing, if I don't have an automation tool, how the system administration would be. For example, I will tell you. Take a small example. If I take you, when I started my career, okay, somewhere long back, 15 years back, assume that. As I go 15 years back, when I started my career, take an example. If I want to build one server, right? Buying a server, putting into a rack, or documenting it, or then trying to install operating system, testing it, then putting application, again application test should be done, and the security measures need to be done. All this process need to be done, and I need to put that machine into a production. It might take nearly 2 to 3 months, or sometimes 4 to 5 months also it happens. This is what exactly we used to do, okay, when it comes to a real-time projects, right? For deploying one machine, we used to, you know uh, s- we used to take, it is to take lot of time, right? Lot of time we are going to spend on testing, doing this and that, testing hardware, testing software, testing applications, testing security, so many things we are going to do. You're getting it? So this is all we used to do, and it is a lengthy process. I'm telling you, it might be 3 to 4 months of time it used to take to bring that machine into production, right? So this is what exactly the system administration was in, when you go of 10 years, 15 years back, getting it? But now, if someone asks you a mission, within minutes, you are going to build a mission. How it is possible? Because of automation. right? So I'll tell you, we will discuss about it. You might take anything here. You might take anything. I'm not talking only about server. You're talking about OS installation, application deployment, security measures, or you want to build a 10 to 15 mission, 100 missions. We used to take months, and sometimes even it goes year also, right? So this is what exactly it is going to be. Okay, you're getting my point. So this is basically how it's going to be. Okay, so to overcome all these problems, to overcome all the situations, we are going with something, an automation tool. So we have many tools before Ansible also. We have a Puppet, Chef, so many tools we have. So I'll give you a little knowledge about that also. Nothing to worry. Okay, so let me go into the PPT here and I'll just try to give you some more information about this. As I told you, Ansible is an open source automation tool, right? So you know what is open source here is very simple. Open source means a code is open to everyone, right? So Ansible is an open source tool. Open source means code is open to everyone. So you'll ask me, when I don't know how to use an Ansible, what I will do with the code, right? See, not for us, because we are just in a learning stage. We don't know how to use, first of all, Ansible. What is a terminology? We don't know, right? So, but there are many people around the group who are very much interested in, who are very much excited to work on the open source, right? So code is open to everyone, open to everyone, remember. When I say that code is open to everyone, so what they do is they take this particular source code and they start developing it. They try to enhance it. This is what exactly the open source, advantage. Getting it? And the second meaning of open source is free, we can say. The second meaning of open source is free. Okay, so find now you are understanding that the Ansible is an open source tool. It is well and fine. So and what you're going to do with this open source tool, we are going to maintain your entire IT infrastructure, configuration management, application deployments, intra-service orchestration and provisioning we are going to do. And you're going to use this Ansible support for Windows as well as Linux also, it will support. Okay, this is Unix like system is nothing but Linux only, remember that. Okay, then let us discuss something more about the Ansible. Really, do you think that Ansible is a product of Red Hat? No, it is really not. Why? Because Ansible was released in 2012 by Michael D. Hans. Now you want to know who is this Michael D. Hans? So Michael is a DevOps admin at that time. Michael he was a DevOps admin exactly, right? So when I say that Michael is a DevOps admin, he was having a vast experience with all different types of DevOps tools. You're getting it? He's having a vast experience with the different types of DevOps tools. Getting it? So he was working with Puppet, Chef, and many other tools we have. And but these tools are used for different purpose. So different purpose in a sense. Now take an example. If I want to do something called configuration management, at that time we used to use the tools like Puppet, Chef, and CF Engine. Take an example. If you want to do something called server deployments, it is called OS installation, application installations, defining server securities. We used to use the Capistrano or Fabric. And there are some tasks which we used to do, and ad hoc task executions also we used to do. Immediately we used to connect to the SSH, we used to run some commands. This is what exactly we used to do, right? So Michael was wondering like, why don't all these features are not in one single tool, right? So he can't go to these companies and he can't ask them why you're not providing all these features into one single tool, right? So what Michael did is very simple. He took some time and he developed a tool with the name called Ansible. What he did is he did one wonderful thing is he wrapped up all the features into one single tool, right? What is mean by wrapped up all the features into one single tool? Using Ansible, you can perform configuration management, you can perform server deployment, you can run a ad hoc task. Apart from this, you can do orchestration, you can do application deployments, right? You can do server provisioning. So many things you can do. In simple words, if I want to tell you, you are going to manage your entire entire IT infrastructure using Ansible. You're getting my point. You're going to manage and administrate and troubleshoot and patch it up, install whatever you want. Your entire IT infrastructure can be managed by this Ansible tool. Not only entire IT infrastructure, because when I talk about IT infrastructure, sometimes it might be your physical data center, sometimes it might be a virtualization, sometimes it might be a cloud like AWS, GCP, or Azure, or sometimes it might be a Kubernetes and Dockers. Yes, everything I'm telling you, whatever might be the technology that is on your environment, you can manage and administrate and troubleshoot and patch up everything you can do, with the help of Ansible. So this is the feature, this is the benefit of the Ansible. You're getting it? So remember one thing, in 2012, Michael D. Hans has developed this particular tool. With all his experiences, he just brought it. And when he developed this particular tool, he did some, good things here. What is that? I will tell you. Okay, so when I say that, when he developed an Ansible, first of all, he removed, dependencies. Now you'll ask me, what is dependencies here? Very simple. Whenever you want to learn any DevOps tool, many times people raise a question: do you have any prior knowledge in coding? Do you have any prior knowledge in coding? Right? If you don't have a prior knowledge in coding, then it is really tough to work with DevOps tools. Why? Because you need to write a code there. Right? But remember, what Michael has done is he says that without any prior knowledge to the coding, that means you don't have any knowledge about script, you don't have any knowledge about C, C++, Java, Perl, Python, or any other knowledge, Python coding language you don't have. But still you can, work with the Ansible. Now you will say that how? Remember, Ansible is developed based on Python. Now, many times the people have a question here when I say Python. Now, let me know whether I need to learn Python. See, small example I will ask you. Linux is developed based on C, C++, or some Unix or Linux level kernel level programming. So when you're learning Linux, will you go for that coding language? Not required. You're learning Linux to run commands. You are just learning commands and you're running the commands. In a backend, it performs something else. That is all a backend process. So in the same way, Michael D. Hans also says the same thing. I have developed the Ansible based on Python, but it is not mandatory for you to learn Python. Right? It is all a backend process. Look after it. Okay, so this is very, very important point that you need to remember. Right? So it is clear that without any prior coding language, coding knowledge, you can easily work with the Ansible. Right? Now let's go into the other slide here. Ansible was written by Michael D. Hans and acquired by Redhat in 2015. So now here the question is, why Red Hat has acquired this Ansible? And why Red Hat has acquired not only Ansible, they have taken Michael D. Hans also into their project by giving him a very good package. They made Michael D. Hans as a project head of the Ansible. For what reason? So remember one thing, when Michael D. Hans has been developed this Ansible, it is called Ansible engine. So when I say that Ansible engine, it is purely a CLI tool. Right? So as this is a CLI tool, what Red Hat says is, with this CLI tool, you will not be able to manage a big and enterprise level environment where we have 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 servers. It is not possible. So to overcome this, what Red Hat has done is they have taken the source code of the Ansible engine and they have made Michael D. Hans as a head of this particular project, and they want to enhance this engine, and they have come up with a concept called Ansible Tower. Ansible Tower, and Ansible Tower is purely a web-based UI. It is a web-based UI. Remember, Ansible Tower is a web-based UI. Remember, Ansible Tower is a web-based UI. UI stands for user interface. Like you access your Gmail account, you access your AWS Cloud Console. In the same way, Ansible Tower is also a web-based console. Is this clear? So this is how exactly it comes up. So the Ansible team oversees the core Ansible development and provide services and extra tooling such as Ansible Tower to organizations use Ansible. This is how exactly it's going to be. Now let's go into something. Okay, so many times many people have a question in their mind. Okay, why we need to use Ansible? The first important thing is simple. Why it is simple? Because Ansible playbooks are human readable. So first of all, you want to know what is playbook exactly, right? Very simple here. When it comes to Linux, you know about script, right? We write a script, right? You might be a bash script, writing a bash script. You might be writing a bond script. You might be writing some other scripts. So what is the use of script? It has some code, it has some commands which you want to perform. So at the same time, when it comes to Ansible, we have something called playbook. Okay. And whatever the playbook that you're going to write this playbook with a very user-friendly language that is called YAML. And YAML is called data serialization or data digitalization language. It is called what it is called data serialization and data digitalization language it is called, and it is very simple. I will assure you that within a 10 to 15 minutes, if you just spend some time, 10 to 15 minutes of time, you can very simply learn the terminology of YAML. It's very simple, right? You have some terminology called list, dictionary, dictionary of list, and list of dictionary. If you know this terminology, and it is very simple to write a playbook, and it is easy to read and it is easy to understand, right? So that is the reason it is says that human readable automation, no special coding skills are needed, task executed in order used by every team to get product quickly, or productivity quickly it is called. That means you can directly get into production. You can this is a power, this is advantage here, right? Then why we are calling Ansible is powerful? Because you can do everything. Okay, you can do application deployment, you can do configuration management, you can workflow orchestration, you can do network automation, security and compliances, orchestrating the application lifecycle management. This is all we are going to do with the Ansible. And the last, this is very important. Ansible is agentless. This feature attracts many people. You will say that why? Because I will tell you a small example here. Let me talk something about Puppet. So when you're going with Puppet, assume that this is my Puppet server. This is my Puppet client, assume that. And this is connected like this. This is my Puppet server, Puppet server, and this is my Puppet client, Puppet client, right? Or so because we are installing Puppet here, that's the reason it is called Puppet server, and we are installing client here. We are installing a agent here. They are calling it a Puppet client. And remember, basically the client, whatever you're installing, we call it as an agent also, Puppet agent. So using this agent, what happens is very simple. Puppet is purely a pull mode software. What is mean by pull mode? So wherever you're going to install the agent, by sitting on the agent, you're going to pull all the configurations from the Puppet server. This is what exactly it is going to be. This is Puppet server and this is Puppet client, right? It is a pull mode. So you'll ask me, so what's new in it, right? Most of the tools which are in real time, there are server and client base only. There are server and agent base only. Here only the big question raises, that is nothing but the agent wherever you're going to install that deals with your licensing, right? That's the reason these programs are designed by the vendor in this particular method. Getting it? So assume that you have purchased 100 machines license. Assume that we have purchased 100 machines license. You have deployed all the 100 machines. Later, after 2-3 months or after 6 months, you want to add another 25 machines to an existing environment, and you need to buy an 25 license extra because you want to deploy, right? You can't ask your vendor saying that I'm going to use this machines for just 3 months, 4 months. Why don't you allow me? No, he don't accept it, right? So everything involves in a license. So because it involves in a license, it will involves in a cost. And if it involves in a cost, you need to discuss with your team, manager, clients. You need to take NOC, you need to take approvals, then you need to contact the vendor, then you need to buy the license. If your client or your customer, your management says that, no, we don't have a budget because you're just going to work for 4 months or 6 months, for that, I need to buy a license. If he says that we don't have a budget, then you can't do it, right? So this is what that means. It is clear it is going to involve a lot of cost, right? So that's the reason what people did is they're not going to use much this kind of methods in the real time. Now you'll ask me, then what about Ansible here? Ansible is, I'm going to tell you Ansible. This is my Ansible server and this is my Ansible client, and assume that this server and client is connected like this. This is Ansible server. We are going to say control node. This is something called manage node, right? This is control node and this is manage node. Why we are calling it as control node? Because Ansible is installed here. Okay. And why we are calling it as a managed node? Because this is a target mission. This is a target mission, right? So what I'm going to do is basically how this server and client is going to communicate. We don't have any agents here. We are going to communicate using SSH. We are going to communicate using SSH. And SSH is a well-known service. People who are working on Linux and Unix and who are working on storages, who are working with databases, they all know how SSH will work, right? That is not a new service. It's a well-known service by everyone. Okay, so we are going to communicate from control node to manage node using an SSH. We don't need any extra agent here because Ansible is purely an agentless software, right? And remember one thing, when you're connecting through SSH supports two types of communication. One is, password based. That means you're going to connect from one server to another server. You need to put a password there. That is called password based authentication. Okay, the second one is something called what we call is key based authentication. We call something called key based authentication. You're getting my point? We call it as a key-based authentication. Is this clear? Okay, it's a something called key-based authentication, right? So most of the time, like when we are communicating with Ansible control node to manage node, we are going to use key-based authentication only. Yes, you're asking some question. Who's this?
Yeah, I was asking, so
Yeah,
you must
Manoj.
need to have a public key on the remote server.
Yes, you need to generate a public key on your control node, and you need to copy this public key to your managed node. Then only it will allow the control node users to connect to the managed node without any password.
What if you don't have public key?
If you don't have a public key, every time when you're running a playbook or you're running an ad hoc command, you need to put a password. You're getting it? So that is not easy because each playbook might have multiple plays and each play might have multiple tasks, right? For every task, if you want to put a password, do you think it is easy? So it becomes a tedious task for you.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So this is what exactly.
Sure. Thank you.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
Right. So this is what exactly. So I hope you're understanding. So this is what exactly it is going to work here. So wherever you're going to install Ansible, it is called control node. Whatever your target machine, it might be a Linux, it might be a Unix, or it might be any other OS. It is nothing but called as a managed node. And we are going to communicate with something called SSH. And remember, you will ask me, if it is my Windows box, then how you're going to communicate? If it is a Windows box, from your control node to manage node, if it's your managed node is Windows, it might be a Windows 10, it might be a Windows level, it might be a server. We are going to use a tool. We are going to use an agent that is called WinRM. WinRM stands for Windows Remote Management Tool. It is called Windows Remote Management Tool. It is called. Is this clear or any doubts? Okay, so this is what exactly it is going to work. Okay, so this is one advantage. So you will ask me, so what is the advantage here? I'll tell you. And Ansible is just purely a push mode software. Remember, it's a push mode software. Push mode means you're not going to push the software, you're going to push the code. What is code? Code is nothing but playbook. You're going to push the code. Code is nothing but playbook, remember. You're going to write a playbook, you're going to push from control node to manage node. So this is what exactly happened over SSH. We don't need any agent, because we don't need any agent. You know, if you want to add any machine for 1 month, 2 months, for doing some research, for doing some, for doing some testing, don't need to go with license. We don't need to take an approval, no need to inform the client, because the license doesn't involve here. Getting it? So this is the benefit when you go for Ansible. Because of this advantage, because of this one feature, I can say many people stopped using a Puppet or Chef or other tools, and they immediately switched to Ansible. You're getting my point? So this is the power of Ansible here. This is a power of Ansible, we can say, right? So now where the Ansible can be used, you can see Ansible automation technology you can use. So these are the areas like where you can use. You can automate your cloud environment. You can automate your virtualization, container technologies. You can automate your Windows, Linux, Unix, network devices, monitoring tools. There are so many storages, databases, whatnot. You can entire infrastructure can be automated. Any tool that comes into the industry can be automated using Ansible. This is the power of Ansible. And Ansible, is growing like anything. Very fastly it is moving up, right? So this is all about here. So now let's go into something. Okay, we are going to discuss a little bit about architecture here. I'm going to give you a small overview on the architecture, right? So whenever I'm talking about Ansible here, you will be sitting on a control node. Assume that this is my control node. Let me draw again a fresh setup here. Assume that this is your control node and this is your manage node. And you know that we have, why we are calling it as a control node, because Ansible is installed here. That's the reason we call it as a control node. This is something called manage node here. And remember, okay, so when I'm talking about a control node here, basically, you're going to please mute on your side, if you don't mind. Okay, so when I'm talking about a control node here, so you're going to write a playbook here. As I told you, what is playbook? Playbook is a code that you're going to write. So many times, like we have a doubt how I'm going to write a playbook, right? So very simple. Ansible is installed here. And for installing Ansible, the dependency package is Python. The latest version of Python is a dependency for the Ansible. Then apart from this, like what I'll do is very simple. Ansible is installed and the dependency package is Python. Good. Then you're writing a playbook. So when I'm talking about a playbook is like a code, like you write a script, right, to automate something. In the same way, we are going to write a playbook. So whenever you're writing a playbook, there are some rules you need to follow. What are the rules? I will tell you. For example, you're writing a script. Okay, script.sh. So you're writing a script. So what you will do basically, Yes, you try to define a shebang, right? And then you write a script, right? At the same time, when you're writing a playbook, remember the playbook name. I'm going to write a playbook. For example, I'm going to write a playbook name as HTTPD. HTTP, the extension should be always YAML, or it should be http.yaml. This should be the extension. This should be the extension. Remember this http.yaml, YML or YAML. This should be the extension of your playbook. And the second thing is whatever the playbook that you're going to write, it should always start with 3 dashes and end with 3 dots. Okay, maybe ending is not that mandatory, but starting 3 dashes is very, very important. So how you are going to put a shebang in a script in the same way, when it comes to a playbook, always it should start with 3 dashes. Right? So below this 3 dashes, like you're going to write a play. Below the play, you're going to have a task. Below the task, we are going to write the modules. Remember, we are going to define the modules. And below the modules, we are going to put something called arguments. Remember this. We're going to put something called arguments. Is this clear? This is how exactly it is going to play, task, module, and argument. This is what the hierarchy of your playbook you're going to write. Now, okay, fine. You understood that this is a playbook model. We are not going in depth of it. I'm just giving an overview. Today is our first session. Okay. So now I'm going to give you more information about inventory. What is inventory here? So like, you're working in Linux machine, you know what is this file, etc host. What is the use of etc host? See, you know that IP communication is a default communication. Whoever they want to communicate with any remote machine, be communicate using IP address. But you know that IP address is a dynamic IP. It might change anytime. That's the reason what we do. We will try to gather the IP address or host name, or we will update in etc host file so that we will try to communicate with the host name. Right? So this is what, if not is host name, we have another concept called DNS, right? This is what exactly when you want to communicate with host name or fully qualified domain name, we go with this. At the same time, when you're writing a playbook, you want to hit this particular target machine, which we call it as a managed node, which is called system A, or we have a system B. Like this, we have a host names. If you want to target these machines, we want to target this machine, this managed node information need to be defined in one file that is called inventory. So inventory is a file which has a list of managed nodes. Inventory is a static file. I'm going to say inventory is a static file. Okay. Okay. Inventory is a static file. We have list of remote managed node here, right? So we have an inventory file. Within this inventory file, we can put the IP address. Let me put something called 192.168.15 dot something called 20 is IP address, or else I'll just try to put system A, or I will put something called fully qualified domain name systema.lab.com. This is what exactly we're going to put. Either you can put IP address, you can put host name, you can put FQD and fully qualified domain name. This is what exactly the inventory file contains. This is what exactly the inventory file contains. Is this clear or any doubts? So whenever you're creating a playbook, okay, when you run this playbook, okay, the playbook, what it will do, the playbook checks into this inventory file and it checks whatever the machine you're targeting is, this machine is here. Yes, it is here. Then as it is here, it takes the confirmation and it will hit this particular machine. This is what happens. You're getting it? Okay, whenever you want to connect a remote machine using host name, what happens? It looks into the etc host file. Give me 1 minute. It checks into the etc host file, then it targets that particular machine. Same way when it comes to Ansible playbook also, when you run a playbook, it looks into the inventory, it verifies whether the host name is existing, then immediately targets that particular machine using SSH. key-based authentication. This is how exactly the inventory is going to work. And whenever I'm talking about inventory, remember one thing, we have a two types of inventories. One is a static inventory, another one is dynamic inventory. Dynamic inventory. Static inventory is nothing but whatever I just said right now. Dynamic inventory, we are not going to discuss right now. It is especially used for cloud, virtualization, and container technology. Container technology, right? Why? Because in a cloud environment, when you bring the machine, it comes up. When you shut down the machine, it goes down. Okay, what it goes down? IP addresses. So IP address dynamically changes. It is not that easy to track the machines. That's the reason we're using a dynamic scripts. We are going to track the machines over the cloud and virtualization and container technologies. This is very important. Okay, I'll also show you an example in sessions. We will discuss about AWS cloud also. There's nothing to worry. I'll give you some examples like how do we connect to the AWS cloud, how do we interact with this API console, and how do we, I'll give you some examples, how do we create a EC2 instance, how do we create S3 buckets. Okay, all these things I'll give you. I mean, all these things we are not going in depth of cloud, but I'll give you one, two examples because you need to explore more into that. That's the reason. Okay, so this is all about the inventory here. Then modules, I'll tell you what is modules. Inside the Linux, we have a commands. Do you remember? Inside the Linux, we have a command like user add. Okay, we have a command called group add. We have a command called yum. We have so many commands we have, right? So how we have like a, we have a commands inside the Linux. Inside the Ansible, we have something called modules. And remember, modules are developed based on Python, right? So we have a module called user to create a user. We have a module called group in order to create a group. We have a module called yum in order to install a package. We have a module called file in order to create a file or directory, right? Like this, we have a module called systemd, or we have a module called service in order to enable and start these services. This is how exactly it is going to work, right? So we have around 3,000 to 4,000 modules. I mean, version to version, it might be changed. So whatever the current version we are using, it is 5.0. So in that, we will be seeing more than 5,000 plus modules we have. And all these modules are being categorized based on the technology cloud. So many vendors, based on that, the modules are being segregated. Okay, for Windows, the modules are being segregated. For Linux, modules are being segregated. Getting it? This is what exactly modules. And what is APIs? You know, APIs are used for communicating with API consoles. If you want to communicate with AWS API console, you need to have a support of APIs. We need to have a support of APIs here. This is very important thing. And we have something called plugins. What is this plugins here? Plugins is nothing but enhancement of modules is called plugins here. Getting it? And using this entire terminology, you can manage your host networks, virtual machines, clouds, and everything. And maybe, I mean, you have to know something about CMDB. Have you heard about CMDB? Configuration management database, like service now comes under configuration management database. Active Directory comes under service, I mean, configuration management database. And LDAP comes under configuration management database. Getting it? So this is all about the configuration database management. So we try to take the help of the configuration management database, and you can get the host names and IP addresses, and you can go into work it. So this is all about a little bit overview of the architecture here. So without this terminology and architecture, you will really not be able to work with the Ansible. Okay, so now let us get into the next slide here. So I'm giving you some analyzation and statistics here, which has been collected by the Red Hat. The business value of, I mean, Red Hat Ansible automation platform. This is 9 organization average 667 return of investment ROI after implementing Ansible automation platform. See, okay, there are reputed organization, enterprise level organizations. There are 9 organizations they have deployed Ansible, and whatever they have invested on that investment, their return is 667% of return. See, who will give you this much returns? So Ansible automation has given you this much returns because less downtimes, lot of automations. 100 people's work are done by only 10 people. You're getting it, a big task automation, patching or deployments or whatever. Everything you can automate it, right? And the code that you're going to create, that will become a real asset of your company. Okay, you can use this code for any other projects. Okay, this is what exactly the more productivity IT infrastructure team, faster speed to market for a new application, significantly increasing in revenue per year while reducing unplanned downtimes. You know, you can be achieving with the Red Hat Ansible automation platform. This is all exactly right. And this is all about ROIs that it is going to show you. And the average salary, I just kept it. If you are working as a Linux and Unix or Windows administrator, you are just earning 3 to 4K, 4 lakhs per annum. If you add this Ansible to your profile, you can expect more than 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs, or up to 10 lakhs also people are earning. I just kept an average, right? This is only in India. If you go out of India, you can demand. There's a lot of demand here, right? So this is all about here. So I'm also talking something about tower, but I'm not going much into the tower. I'll give you just definition and I'll try to show you the content. So Ansible Tower, formerly called as AWX, is a web-based solution that makes Ansible even more easy to use for IT teams of all kinds. So basically, this is what exactly, right? So all about the Ansible Tower, control, knowledge, delegation. This is what it's simple, powerful, and agentless we call, right? So this is basically how it's going to work. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between Ansible engine and Tower, but I'm not going to discuss more about Tower because once you know the engine, then it is easy for you to know the features of towers. For example, I can tell you engine doesn't have by default logs, but when you go for Tower, it records the logs. Engine doesn't have a control on the playbooks and inventories to the users. But when it comes to the tower, we have an RBAC, role-based access control. You can define the roles to who can access my playbooks, who can access my inventories, who can work on certain projects. All these delegations can be done using the tower. So these are some of the differences I can say, right? So this is all about, okay. So let me also show you the content here. I'll just try to. So meanwhile, if you don't mind, can you just uh, uh, can you the people who have joined, can you share your email addresses and phone number on this particular number, if you don't mind, 8341455495. Please, because the people who have not registered, I just want their numbers for communication purpose. Please do record, just record this number, or else you can just send a mail on this particular itztechnologies.net, please. So because your contacts is important, because if I want to share the recording also, right? If you share your email address and phone numbers, that will be very easy for me to communicate. So please record this phone number and email address, and please do share your phone number and email address, because it will be easy for me to share this recording and for the future communications, right? So this is what. So let me show you the content here. Let me put this aside. I'm going to show you the Ansible content here. Ansible course content. So when I'm talking about Ansible course content here, as I told you, it is 35 to 40 hours training. So we will just go with introduction to Ansible, and we will discuss about installing Ansible, and I'll try to show you like how do we install Ansible on Red Hat Linux, Ubuntu, all these things. And we will see like how do we deploy an inventory configuration file, and how do we work with ad hoc commands. And the chapter 3 is all about deploying a playbooks. So we will see how to write a playbook here, how to write a playbook here, and what is YAML, all these things we will discuss, and writing multi-playbook also we will discuss. And then the fourth chapter it will be all about modernizing the playbook, where we discuss like managing variables here, right? And we will discuss about Ansible Vault, which is all about securing your playbooks. Okay, then apart from this, we go with managing facts and implementing task controls, like we discuss something about loops, and we have something about we will discuss eighth chapter is all about modifying the configurations using some modules, and we will discuss something about the Jinjajo templating, and we will discuss something about large projects managing. So we will discuss about dynamic inventories, how do we work with AWS cloud, all these things we will discuss. Then we will talk about playbooks with roles. We are talking something about roles here. So we have the three different types of roles. We have a system roles, we have a roles, well-written roles given by the Red Hat. We have a roles which we can download from Ansible Galaxy, right? And we go for troubleshooting. So once the troubleshooting is done, then we will go with the introduction to Tower, and then we will go with the Tower. Tower will be another 5 chapters. So this is how exactly. So totally entire course is about 40 hours training it is. Okay. And I also request people, you can put on the Google, I mean, Zoom chat also. It will be better if you can put it with me on Zoom chat. Uh, Otherwise, you can just put your contact details onto this email address or phone number. So this is all about, and as you know that I'm going to start, this is our first day session. I have just taken as a, you can take it as a demo, but it is not a demo. I have taken exact session, right? And one more thing is we are going to continue this session from tomorrow. So we are going to do Monday to Friday. The sessions are going to go, and we are planning for 1 hour, but I just want to go for 1 hour 30 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes like this, so that we can complete within 1 month. That's the reason. Okay. And please share your contacts, please share your contact number, please share your name also, so that it will be easy for me to communicate. Okay. So
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
please.
Okay.
Yeah, who's
So
this?
yeah, this is Manoj again. Sorry.
Manoj. Yeah, tell me, Manoj.
So as far as in the training, I mean,
Mhm.
what kind of playbooks we will be writing? Like what
So
exactly we?
this training is especially based on Red Hat system administration. We are going to follow this book because many time people have a doubt. Let me know what content you're going to cover, right? So I don't want to confuse you. Like we are going to, I'm going to cover entirely. You know, it is totally on system administration part. The content will be, it is a certification. If you are willing to write a certification also, you can go with this. Just give me 1 minute. This is basically how. This is RH294 is a code. I am going to cover this entire content from this particular book up to Ansible engine and Tower. I have just, I have designed my own content for Tower, which is a 5 chapters after this. Okay. So whatever I'm going to do it, it is all about system administration. So you might also have a doubt. So why you're going most on the system administration? Why don't you go into cloud? Why don't you go into VMware? Because many students who comes to this particular Ansible training, people don't have much knowledge on the cloud. Okay. So if I go into the cloud, people have to have a little knowledge, I mean, not little, more than intermediate level, they have to have a knowledge on the cloud. So it doesn't work. So that's the reason we are going to concentrate more on the system administration, but I'll also touch cloud and VMware also. I don't say that I don't touch it. I'll also touch Ubuntu. I'll also touch Windows also. I'll show you 1, 2 examples how to interact with Windows. Okay, then later, based on your interest, yes, you can work.
So, sir, it is basically Red Hat 8, right?
Yes, it is on Red Hat 8, not 8 actually. We can do it on 9 also. Right now, the latest version is 9. We are going to work on this book is on 8. the content, but you don't have, because 9 has released very recently, right? 5-6 months back. So that's the reason.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share the recordings. I'm going to share the playbooks. Okay. I'm going to share this document to you. Right. Okay. So these are all the things I'm going to show you how to set up the control node and manage node I'm having with me right now. I can show you my setup. This is my control node and this is my manage node. I'm going to help you out how to set up manage and control node. All these things I'm going to give you. Right. So this is how exactly. And let me also give you, there is nothing to, I mean, the cost of this particular training is actually it is 15K, but we are running an offer. We are giving it for 12,500. This is what exactly. Or actually, if you have a good number in a group, I'm also giving it for 11,000, 10,000 also. But right now we don't know, but we are going with 12,500 only. Right. This is all about.
The timings, like
Timings evening 9 o'clock, 9 to 10:30 we are going to plan. If you think that it is too late, we will plan 9 to 10, 1 hour.
Indian Standard Time, right?
Indian Standard Time, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
It's Indian Standard Time.
You have options to do like say Tuesday, Wednesday, and like Fridays, or
No, we are going to do from Monday to Friday.
Monday to Friday.
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, yeah, that's fine.
Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday we are not. If you want, we will do it. Otherwise, no. Saturdays, especially. So that's it. So many people they have shared there. So please, if you can put me a mail also, that will help a lot. I'm just unsharing it. So find other people. Can you share your email addresses? Ramesh, I got your email address. Apart from Ramesh, there are other people, right? Please share your contact details. It will be easy for me to communicate. Yeah, Ramesh, I got your number. What about Teja? Can you share your number? Ramesh, I got it. Ram, can I? That's it for today. Tomorrow you're going to meet same time. Ram, I don't know. Ram, can you unmute? Mohammed Muqaddar. Ram, I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, hi. I
Yeah,
shared email
I
ID.
shared your email address. If you can share me, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
already I shared it. Ani.gkr.
Okay, fine. And okay, we are going to start the same meeting link tomorrow also. So please join tomorrow, and you can just see like how the sessions are going on. Based on that, we can go with the registration process. Okay, so fine. See you tomorrow. Good night and good day. Bye.
Okay, sir.
Thanks for joining. Bye.